It's time to meet the San Diego Gulls for this season and a couple of surprises that we're going to talk about on this edition of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jason Hernandez. I've been covering hockey for over a decade, and this episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Well, this isn't exactly Goals Thursday, but we are going to start off talking about the Gulls because they also start over the weekend. It's kind of funny that both the Ducks and the Gulls, they don't start when the actual seasons begin. The AHL season does begin Friday night, but the Gulls are not playing Friday night. In fact, the Gulls don't begin until Saturday, also on the road. They're playing in Toronto. Yeah, you heard that right. The San Diego Gulls are traveling up to the Great White North to take on the Toronto Marlies for a pair of games, if you can believe that. So the rosters have come out, and there was some big surprises as far as the roster is concerned. So what I'm going to do on this segment right here is just go over the players that did make the team. And there was a couple of noticeable subtractions on this one, which we will get to momentarily. First, I'm going to announce the forwards for the San Diego Gulls. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of players coming back, and there's some depth here. There's some pretty solid depth on this Gulls team. So we're going to start off with number 10. Josh Lapina makes a return to the San Diego Gulls. So does Jan Mysak. Mysak played a few games with the Gulls last season, did okay. So he's coming back. As well as the Regenda Agenda. Pavel Regenda is back with the San Diego Gulls. Has had some pretty solid seasons, to be honest. And looking at just that line in general, yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Last season, Pavel Regenda didn't play in every game, but he played in a good amount of games for the Gulls. I like his game a lot. That's someone that I've always thought could do well with the Anaheim Ducks. But last season, 34 points in 54 games. Didn't play every game, but he was solid when he needed to be. Also on the roster is number 13, Nikita Nesterenko is back for the San Diego Gulls. He had 37 points last season for San Diego. Also had a pretty solid season. Number 14, Colson Petra, younger player. He is only 19 years old, but he is on the San Diego roster. So congrats to Colson Petra for making the team outright. As well as Nathan Gaucher, who is 20 years old, the young center. Last season, Gaucher looked solid in general, just across, the entire season. He was one of 2 or 3 players that played all 72 games last season, 25 points. He was mostly third line, fourth line, but still solid for San Diego. Number 18, Carson Meyer, who literally just turned 18 years old last week. So that one is kind of a little bit of a surprise. Carson Meyer making the team. Igor Sidorov, who's only 20 years old, he impressed during the rookie face-off and also looked pretty solid in preseason this year. So Sidorov makes the team, number 19. Number 21, Niko Mijatovic returns for San Diego. He's only 19 years old. Last season in limited action, Mijatovic showed that he can be pretty solid on that fourth line, a good depth piece for San Diego. Number 22, Ryan Carpenter, the steady center, has spent a number of years in the American Hockey League. Ryan Carpenter was one of the stalwarts for the San Jose Barracuda about 5-6 years ago when the Barracuda had a fairly deep run in the Calder Cup playoffs. And he was pretty important for the Hartford Wolfpack last season. And Ryan Carpenter also had more than a cup of coffee in the National Hockey League. So Carpenter, now a San Diego Gull. Number 24, Travis Howe is coming to San Diego. That was a solid move, I think. Solid play. How last season was introduced to San Diego. Only 1 point in 44 games, but just one of those guys that is going to be hard hitting. You love having those kind of guys on your roster as someone that is going to just throw elbows, throw down, and not be afraid to land a couple of punches when need be. So that one I'm okay with. Number 25, Sam Colangelo. Colangelo's a player that I think some Ducks fans were having a little bit higher hopes for as far as the Anaheim Ducks, but that doesn't mean he's not a solid player in the Ducks organization. He'll get there. He will get there, and I think he could become a solid piece for San Diego. Number 26, Jansen Harkins went down to San Diego. Did not make the Ducks team. Still solid. Still a solid piece. And number 28, Judd Caulfield. Caulfield last season for San Diego was pretty good. 26 points in 61 games. So I like that move a lot. So those are the forwards for San Diego. Now a defenseman. This is where I think some of the depth really shows. Now, I did mention on a previous podcast that there was going to have to be odd men out that did not make the Anaheim Ducks. And while I am still surprised that the Ducks are carrying 2 extra defensemen, there's still some solid D on San Diego's roster. Starting with number 2, Noah Warren. That's someone that I still have high hopes for. He's only 20 years old. I feel like he's still only scratching the surface of his abilities, and he has the capability of being someone that could be a depth piece down the line for the Anaheim Ducks, maybe just a grinding third liner in the NHL. As far as cap, I could see his ceiling being third liner in the NHL, but what could wind up happening in the next few years, he could wind up being one of those tweeners that kind of goes back and forth between the NHL and the AHL. So that's Noah Warren. Number 3, Dylan Hetherington. Hetherington has had a long and illustrious career in the American Hockey League, and that includes a playoff run with the Lake Erie Monsters in 2016 when they won the Calder Cup. He was big for the Monsters in that Calder Cup run in 2016. Previously played with the Texas Stars and the Belleville Senators. So that is number 3, Dylan Hetherington. Number 4, Drew Hellison is back with San Diego. Last season, 18 points in 59 games. Not bad, not bad at all. Number 5, Tyson Hines. This is a good piece for San Diego. He's only 21 years old. This is a young team. Rodwin Dionisio. Several Ducks fans, and I read the tweets. I know what I'm seeing. A lot of Ducks fans were impressed with Dionisio during the rookie faceoff. A lot more fans liked his play later on during training camp. He could be solid. He could even be, I would even go as so far as to say he could go up to the second pairing later this season. Roland McEwen, who has recently played with the Milwaukee Admirals, spent the last couple of seasons in Milwaukee, sent them or helped them on deep playoff runs, only to get ousted 2 years in a row by the Coachella Valley Firebirds. And rounding out defense, number 41, Roman Kinal. So that is 7 defensemen for San Diego. Then the goalies. With the recent signing that the Ducks made to get Reimer, that means Callie Klang is back down to San Diego. So your 2 goalies are Callie Klang and Oscar Dansk. Dansk played with the Calgary Wranglers last couple of seasons. He was the backup to Dustin Wolf. Now the Wranglers don't have much of goaltending, but hey, that's good for San Diego. They've got some good backup playoff experience. And also someone that I think could be solid down the line for the Ducks organization. So once again, just in order, really quickly, Forwards, Josh Lapina, Jan Mishak, Pavel Regenda, Nikita Nesterenko, Colson Petra, Nathan Gaucher, Carson Meyer, Igor Sidorov, Niko Mijatovic, Ryan Carpenter, Travis Howe, Sam Colangelo, Jansen Harkins, Judd Caulfield, defenseman, Noah Warren, Dylan Hetherington, Drew Hellison, Tyson Hines, Rodwin Dionisio, Roland McEwen, and Roman Kinal. And your 2 goaltenders are Kelly Klang and Oscar Dansk. That is your roster for the San Diego Gulls. So where exactly do they fit in? How could those pairings work out? And also, who is noticeably missing from this roster? Who are some subtractions? Well, I will talk about all of that after the first intermission. Stay locked in. And now a brief word from FanDuel, which is America's #1 sportsbook. And fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Once again, that is FanDuel.com, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. And please, folks, please gamble responsibly. Welcome back to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of TLOPN. Once again, you're locked in with Jason Hernandez. Let's go down this roster and talk about where they all fit in. Okay, this is going to be the meat and potatoes of this. Sidorov was very impressive during the rookie camp. I could see him being on that first line. Ryan Carpenter is such a steady presence on any line that it wouldn't surprise me if he was first or second line. Then you have Judd Caulfield, who's also very good. Nathan Gaucher, I think, being as high a draft pick as he was, there's still higher hopes for him, as well as Nikita Nesterenko. So I think your top 6 are going to be possibly Sidorov, Caulfield, Carpenter, Gaucher, Nesterenko, and oh boy, that last one's tough. That last one's really tough. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Pavel Regenda. I almost forgot about him. Regenda, I think, is going to be a top liner, or really a top 6. So actually, yeah, that's my top 6. Sidorov, Carpenter, Regenda, Nesterenko, Gaucher, Caulfield. That'll be personally my top 6 in San Diego, but, you know, let's see what they do. Let's see what they do to start the season. After that, there's a couple of spares here. Mijatovic, Lapina, Carson Meyer, I guess, could be in the bottom 6, as well as Mishak, Howe, Petra I like in there, but they've got some pretty good forwards. Oh yeah, Nesterenko I think is going to be good. Nesty's going to be good. Gaucher's going to be good. Sidorov I'm looking forward to. All right, Harkins will be in there also. Now defense. Tristan Luneau obviously is up with the Ducks. So Noah Warren, I think, will slot in on right defense. So I would say my top pairings as of right now, I would say Hetherington and Hellison, I think, would be a good top pairing. I did think about this, and I'm still racking my brain around this. Okay, so I'm going to put this out there right now. Roman Kinal is going to be the extra defenseman for San Diego this season. Yeah, that's what I have. Kinal will be he'll be the spare. Last season, he had limited action in San Jose, didn't play every game. In fact, in his career, he only has but 1 point in 28 games with the Barracuda. So he will probably likely be the spare. So who do we have? Let's see. Your right defensemen are McEwen, Hellison, and Noah Warren. Your left defense are Tyson Hines, Dylan Hetherington, and Rodwin Dionisio. So I'm going to put Hetherington, Hellison in that top pairing. After that, Dionisio had an impressive camp this year. So I'm going to go Dionisio, Warren, and then Tyson Hines, Roland McEwen. Gosh, I hate putting McEwen down on the third pairing because he is a very good player. He's solid. He was pretty good for Milwaukee the last couple of seasons one of those heartbeat kind of guys that can get some points when need be. So right D looking very good for San Diego this season, but Helleson also looks really good. So that's what I'm going to go with personally. And then goaltending, Kelly Klang as your number one, Dansk as your number two. Kelly Klang should be the opening night starter for the San Diego Gulls this season, which means that Vyacheslav Butaits is down with the Tulsa Oilers. So he gets sent down to the ECHL. And there's a couple other players that went down to the ECHL on their final cuts. Final cuts were Butaits going down to Tulsa. Jackson Weeb. Okay, that one's fair. He had an okay camp. This last name. This one is surprising, folks. Sasha Pastujov going down to the Tulsa Oilers. That I did not see coming at all. I don't think any of us saw that one coming. I think he was expected to be a third liner, middle. He's a good middle six player, and especially how the Gulls finished last season. Pastujov was that guy that had the game-winning goal in the final game of the season at Coachella Valley. He scored the game-winning shootout goal. That was a good way to end the season, to end on a positive note. And to send him down, that is surprising. That could be a message sent. I mean, I'll admit he had a decent camp. He looked okay in the rookie face-off. But ECHL, I don't see it. I didn't see that one at all. I thought he did just enough to make the roster and did just enough to stick around. But, the Gulls are sending a message loud and clear to Sasha Pastujov. You got to work on some stuff, kid, and you're going to do it with the Tulsa Oilers. Yeah, he's probably going to dominate the Tulsa Oilers. He's probably going to dominate the ECHL when he gets down there. And hopefully he can work his way back up to the American Hockey League. So that one's the biggest shock. And just to expand on that for another minute, Pasta is still a young player. He is still someone that I think is going to gain more experience. Last season with the San Diego Gulls, Pasta had 23 points in 46 games. So he averaged a half a point a game. That was still pretty good. He just turned 21 years old. So he is still young. He's still got a lot of time and a lot of time to prove himself. But Pasta was working on his skating. His skating looked better this summer. There were obviously some things that he worked on. So for him to go down, yeah, it's surprising. Surprising is the word of the day to describe that particular move. All right, we're going to head into the second intermission. I'm going to talk more about some other players that are minus or missing between last season and this coming season. We'll get to that on the other side. And now a brief word from the Gametime app. And folks, Dodgers playoffs are here. Game 5, Padres and Dodgers. Yes, I know this is about San Diego Gulls, but we're talking about the Padres and the Dodgers. And they have plenty of great tickets on the Gametime app because they have a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. They fluff out, all the junk, and they give you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through hundreds, thousands of tickets. And you can talk about the super deals, the flash deals, the zone deals. You can customize your spots. So everything that you could possibly want on a ticket buying app is right there. You also have all-in pricing available right at the click of a button. It's that easy. You have seat views and also their lowest price guarantee. Or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. Welcome back to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Once again, Jason Hernandez here on episode number 936. We're counting down to 1,000, folks. All right. Players that are missing between this season and last season, and there's a bunch of players. We're going to start off with Ben King. Ben King signed with the Manitoba Moose. He's going to be missed. Ben King, solid 30 points in 61 games last season. He will definitely be missed. Also missing is Andrew Agozzino, who signed with the Utah Hockey Club. So the Tucson Roadrunners. So that's where Agozzino went. Agozzino led the team in points last season with 64 points in 72 games. Congrats, Agozzino, on making it out there to Utah. Also missing between last season and this season, Glenn Gaudin, who signed with the Los Angeles Kings and playing with the Ontario Reign. So we're going to see Gaudin in that rivalry series between the Reign and the Gulls. Last season, Gaudin was second in scoring with 55 points in 70 games. Also missing, Chase DeLeo. Chase DeLeo signed with Astana in the KHL. So Chase DeLeo officially signed overseas. The Gulls are going to miss him. He scored 48 points in 52 games, averaged almost a point a game with San Diego, lost some time due to injury. Last season was as close to 100% as he's going to be and did well. Trevor Carrick. He's also missing. Wow, all these big-time goal scorers, they're missing. Trevor Carrick signed with the Charlotte Checkers. So there goes Trevor Carrick. Okay, how about Robert Haig? He signed with the Vegas Golden Knights. Blake McLaughlin signed with the Hartford Wolfpack. Yeah, these are not small potatoes names. I mean, these are pretty solid players that left. Robert Haig last season, 12 points in 47 games on defense. Also, Colton White signed with the Devils. Luka Profaka signed with the KHL. And Connor Vidston went back to juniors. So already you have most of your top 10 scorers that are gone. That's a lot. So where is the scoring going to come from? It's going to have to come from all the young guys. It's going to have to. So it's going to have to come from guys like, if I'm going to be honest here, it's going to have to come from guys like Josh Lapina. Pavel Regenda is going to have to take on the bulk of the offense. He's going to have to be the one that's responsible for putting as many shots on net as possible. So I could see Regenda having a big season because he's going to have a big season. If the Gulls are going to do well, Gaucher, solid goal scorer, he could be big. Sidorov, I have high hopes for. Sidorov could be a 20-goal scorer for the Gulls this season. I believe that much in Igor Sidorov. Ryan Carpenter, always steady. Sam Colangelo is going to have a big season. And Judd Caulfield, we'll see if he can have a big season as well. On defense, it's going to come down to everybody. Warren, Hellison, Hetherington, Hines, Dionisio, McEwen. They can all score. So they're going to have to put up some big numbers, especially now that the Gulls don't have the services of Tomas Sukanik, who once again is out for pretty much the whole season with a knee injury. So that's the roster, and that is your 24-25 San Diego Gulls. All right, we're going to wrap up right here, but sincerely thank you all for listening. Thanks for watching. AHL season begins on Friday. The Gulls begin on Saturday. And just once again, I want to thank you all so much for your continued support. It is so greatly appreciated. Very much needed right now. Don't forget, this podcast is free and available across all platforms, including Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, ad-free on Amazon. We're also on YouTube. You could follow me on Twitter X at StimpyJD. The show's Twitter's at LO_Ducks. Mailbag is open. I'm going to put a tweet out in the morning and send in your questions. Whatever questions you want, I will try to answer them. And once again, thank you all so much for your continued support. It is very much needed and very much appreciated right now. For Locked On Anaheim Ducks, I'm Jason Hernandez saying have a great rest of the day. Please remember to be safe out there. Please be kind to one another. And Ducks and Gulls fly together.